Don't the ladies open the door? Huh?
Officers make their presence known at an apartment in the 900 block of North Charles, to be greeted with screams for help.
Let me see your hands!
And eventually finding 57-year-old Anthony George, later lunging into a nearby room, grabbing 4-year-old Terrell Miller. A single gunshot, killing them both in an instant.
Anthony was intoxicated, and things went left. Like he told me, if I can't have you, nobody can.
And that's exactly how Terrell's mother, Kiana Miller, remembers it.
No justice, no peace.
Now a call to action. Miller, along with about 50 others, rallied in March for policy reform within the Macomb Police Department.
They could have did anything besides use their weapon. They had tasers, they had pepper spray.
And policy is what Police Chief Jeff Hamer says he's looking into with an internal investigation. In a July 24th interview, Hamer called it his priority.
I feel I'm 80 to 90% of the way there.
Tell me how that was police procedure.
What was their reason?
They said in the report that he acted within the guidelines for the use of deadly force.
Miller's attorney Marlena Suarez saying Officer Nick Gock, who Hamer confirmed as the shooter, should have used de-escalation and negotiation tactics.
He was a bright young man. He never did nothing wrong. He didn't deserve to get killed by the police.
Suarez claiming the case is far from over and that a civil lawsuit will be filed by the end of next week.
It may be the only alternative open to us at this point.
And in the meantime, Miller hopes change will stem from Hamer's internal look. But she isn't holding her breath. She remembers her son, who would have turned 5 about 2 weeks ago, as a ball of sunshine who was everyone's best friend.
You had a bad day and you looked at him, hey, I'm Terrell. How are you doing? You know, he didn't have an enemy on this earth.
In Macomb, Dylan Smith, WGEM News.
All right, peace and blessings, all praises to the Most High. And there you see yet another police officer. And at this time, it is police officer right here, Nick Gock, Lieutenant Nick Gock of the Macomb Police Department in Macombs, Illinois, who is responsible for taking the lives of 4-year-old Terrell Miller. And I assume this is his mother's boyfriend, Anthony George. And of course, they have to criminalize him with all of his arrest records there. But this happened March 16, 2024. And sadly, I have not heard about this, and I'm pretty sure the majority of you who are watching this video have not heard about this situation. Now, we all saw the video where the police come in the door no more than 5 or 6 seconds after the mother allegedly called. Now you heard that, you saw this video, right? And this says nothing about the guy having knives, nothing about the woman being stabbed multiple times, nothing about them saying, hey, drop the weapons. You see, as soon as that officer, soon as Mr. George holding a 4-year-old boy comes around that corner, that officer does not hesitate to fire. And he fired one shot. And as the phrase goes, one shot, one kill. No, in this case, it was one shot, 2 kills. And I don't know the particular dynamics of how the bullet hit both of them. But this man was definitely shooting to kill. Now, the story goes that, the mother, was involved with Mr. George. Mr. George, as she said, was intoxicated. They were having some type of domestic dispute. She never said that, she was stabbed by him. And so I still have to question that narrative because she never said it. That came out the mouth of the next news clip that you're going to see, which ultimately is stating that this officer will not be charged. Now, that happened on March the 16th. The investigation, as they say, concluded sometimes around July, saying that he would not be charged. And you heard the woman say, well, the investigation concluded that the officer operated within the guidelines and the standards that comply with the necessary use of force. Now, anybody could see that at that point in time, force was not needed. Once again, I don't see any knives. This article doesn't mention any knives. Where was the de-escalation tactics? I thought hostage negotiators, if he was a hostage negotiators are supposed to protect life, are supposed to withdraw when there's a chance that your actions could be the demise of the individual who is quote unquote a hostage. But this officer did none of that. He escorted that lady out of the house, and once he did that, he knew he had free reign. But fortunately, his body camera caught the brutality of his actions. Like, there was no second thought. There was no drop the knife. There was no, okay, look, calm down, sir. Please put the baby down. All right. You know, he did that because, as we've seen time and time again, he knew that he was going to get off, just as this news clip is going to show you. And that's it. That's all they give you as a part of their investigation. Now, none of this was mentioned in the first news clip. There's no mention of knives. There's no mention of, dropping the knives, repeated commands. Did y'all see or hear any repeated commands in that first video? And the news even got it further on, claiming that Mr. George was 57, 56. He was 36. And as I mentioned earlier, I pulled up this article where it says extensive criminal history of Anthony George uncovered. Now, mind you, that's 2014, 2016, 2017, right? That's 10 years before this happened. So what is the relevancy of this? Once again, it's to criminalize, it's to dehumanize, it's to justify the taking of this man's life unnecessary. And once again, I'll put this cop up. Nick Gock, since everybody wants to SWAT people and dox people, this is that guy. So if you're somewhere in Macombs, Illinois, and you see this guy, make sure he feels, the wrath, so to speak, of his actions, because this mother, I think her name is Kiana Miller, is still out there stomping for justice. As you see, they're protesting. Many people, feel that we are tired of protesting, and I am tired of protesting. I am tired of seeing protests and hearing no justice, no peace. It have to turn into something else. By no justice, then, no sleep, if that makes sense. Don't want to say it, in that manner, but no justice, no sleep, or no life, whatever you want to do. But, this is outrageous, man, that officer will step into that house and see that situation, and his only response was to shoot, to kill both individuals. That's asinine. There's no way that they can justify that. This officer's probably still on the force, may even transfer it to another force, getting a paycheck, living life, living high off the hog. And this mother, is still grieving for her son. And then they have to go now the legal route of, lawsuits and things like that. But that's not going to bring 4-year-old Terrell back. That's not going to bring 36-year-old Anthony George back. And it's a cautionary tale. And of course, I know she probably didn't have a choice in this instance, because if the man was attacking her, but then also you have to be careful on not blaming her by a long shot. But we have to be careful on who we choose to date, and look for some signs that, that they are crazy, basically. If he's telling her she can't, if he can't have her, no one can. But not placing any sort of the blame on her. But we have to be careful when we call the police, as the article mentioned. This came just after that they said that they weren't going to charged the officer with the death of Sonia Massey. Now, we all know that Sonia Massey called the police herself. And so we got to be careful. We can't, involve these people unnecessarily, especially when there's tense situations. I don't know what we can do, but we definitely don't want to call these demons whose first act is to, fire upon a 4-year-old boy who's evidently being held against his will. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Rest in peace to Terrell Miller, and prayers go out to Kiana Miller and all the people who love them. Y'all see the number 919-587-7782. Peace and blessings. And also, if you have not ordered one of my books, it's on the website, Brushes with Death, Wrongfully Accused, Rightfully Acquitted, Son of a Preacher Man, and Blue Lights in My Rear View, that details the history of the police brutality, my own experiences with police harassment and things like that. So that's on the website as well. But I thank you all for watching, liking and, sharing these videos, and most of all, subscribe to the channel. Once again, peace and blessings. Much love.